Mr. Gilbert. Here. Mr. Teetsort.
Here.
Mr. Detzel.
Here.
Mr. Heather.
Here.
Mrs. Colby.
Here.
Before we get started, I wanted to take a moment and have a moment of silence and offer a prayer for the situation going on in Europe and the Ukraine. So whatever your method is for praying, we're going to take just a couple silent seconds here to remember the Ukrainians. Thank you. Mission statement. Next, on our next bullet item, we want to, at the beginning of each meeting, just share our mission statement for the school district. The Northwest Local School District will create a responsive learning community where all students are valued, challenged, and guided along a pathway to success. Okay, that brings us to 4.1, legislative updates.
Mark, I've got a couple things here that I thought were of interest. Try to narrow them down real quick so don't bore people too much. There's 3 bills. These are just, they're in the House and Senate. They've not been signed or they're not laws. The first is the Universal Vouchers, House Bill 290, known as the Backpack Bill. If passed, every grade school-age child would be eligible for either a $5,500, that's K through 8, or $7,500 9 through 12 voucher. Parents could spend these dollars on private school tuition, homeschool supplies, advanced placement testing, or education therapies. That's been kicked around for years, the voucher thing, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Next thing is posting curriculum online, House Bill 529. This would mandate that all public school teachers post their curriculum online. And that's been big with the COVID stuff. And lastly, the transgender student athlete bill, which you've been hearing a lot about nationwide, Senate Bill 132. Transgender girls couldn't play on female sports teams. Schools could face civil lawsuits for knowingly violating those rules. So we'll see what happens. And that's it.
Great, thank you, sir. Darryl, is there anything else that you have from your position? Okay, that brings us 4.2, Student Achievement Liaison Report. Nicole?
Yes, so I have a list of students that we'd like to recognize. Aubrey Meyer, 7th grader at White Oak, Power of the Pen qualifier. Carrie Schwetman, 7th grader at White Oak, Regional Power of the Pen qualifier. Angel Danford in 8th grade, also at White Oak, was a Power of the Pen qualifier. Daniel Schwetman, 8th grade Spelling Bee winner, and Carrie Schwetman, 7th grade Spelling Bee winner. Miles Blackwell, a senior at Northwest, is the Colerain Chamber of Commerce Business Student of the Year. And Isabella Lambrindis, 11th grader at Colerain High School, is the Colerain Chamber of Commerce Business Student of the Year. Deja Cotton, a freshman at Northwest, 2nd team all SWOC girls basketball. And Shamaya Harshaw, a senior, honorable mention. And Janasia Bailey, a junior, won the SWOC Sportsmanship Award for girls basketball. Braden Miller, a junior at Northwest, 1st team all SWOC for boys basketball. And Marquez Postway, a senior, 2nd team all SWOC. Jay Davenport, a sophomore at Northwest, honorable mention. And DJ Jones, a senior, won the Sportsmanship Award. Randy Cox, a junior at Northwest, 4th place in the SWOC Wrestling Championship. AJ Shelton, a sophomore, won 3rd place. Kingston Hill, a freshman, was 2nd place. Kamari Harden, a senior, was 1st place in the Wrestling Championships. Eric Morris, a freshman, was 2nd place. Makari Harden, a senior, was 2nd place. And then the Colerain High School wrestling team, which I mentioned last time, first time in school history winning the GMC, and I know several of the wrestlers are still going. Lauren Clifford qualified for state and swam this past weekend, so I think she got 14th, maybe in one and 8th in the other. So Bailey Brewer qualified for girls state wrestling. Abby McNally broke the school record for points in girls basketball. And Asada Diallo was a winner in the 2022 MLK Art Essay and Multimedia Contest for her essay submission. And our Pleasant Run Middle School Spelling Bee winners are Arabeth Goodall, she was the champion, and Zuri Aguilar was the first place runner-up, was Madison Holt. And then also this month, a lot of our teachers are being recognized from the PTA for Teacher of the Year. So those are coming in, and I'll update everyone on those at the end of March. So congratulations, though, to all of those students. And then are we doing the presentation now as well? Okay. We also have Casey Schurz. Are you going to go ahead? Okay.
All right. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it. I love having an opportunity to communicate with the board as well as our community and family members. So thank you guys for being here. We have a group of about 6 students and some staff members, as well as our assistant principal, Ms. Childers, who has come this evening. So I think my clicker will work. But so to start off, we had a family involvement evening with our Title I funds, and this has been, I think, about 2 years since we've been able to have an event back in the schools, really kind of bringing the families back in and being able to enjoy the camaraderie and friendship, if you will, with everybody in the community. So it was a great evening. The amount of people that showed up, I believe we had in the 350 people range, so that was all. Oh, I'm sorry. That's
All right. I hate putting my back to you guys. I apologize. We had about 350 families that were there with their little ones, the students in the building, and it was just great to see smiling faces and activities. So what we have tonight, we have a little PowerPoint we'll put together that will allow our students, and if we wouldn't mind, our students, if you would come up with me, we can stand, and then you guys can give your pieces of our PowerPoint here. But what we'll do is we'll kind of go through what the evening. We took, obviously, the theme of the Olympics at Taylor to be able to honor our Olympics and what was going on, and then kind of have a good time with that. So what we did is we took each floor has 2 grade levels on it, and on the floors what we had is events that took place for each grade level, and then they received like stamps or sign-offs where as they were finished they could start to go to different areas and do different things, and then finally get their picture taken on the podium. So I will go ahead and get started. I believe we have William. William will be our first presenter here to talk about what we did in kindergarten.
Hi, I'm William, and I did the kindergarten floor for the, I forgot what it's called, the Olympic night. And one thing that we did was phenomenike awareness, where you hop the sounds of a letter. So in the picture there's hula hoops. How many letters are in a word? You would have to hop the hula hoops. And the other one is counting by 1s and 10s, making Olympic rings. And my favorite part of the Olympic night was probably that I got to see all my friends there.
Awesome. Thank you, William.
All right, and then we have Ariana Hall to talk with us about first grade.
Hi, I'm Ariana. One of the things that we did was curling addition, when you would add 3 digits together, and another one was skating sight words, when you wrote sight words in the salt. My favorite part of the Olympic night was probably helping you with that job.
Next we have Isaac.
Hi, I'm Isaac Bernadette. And two of the things that we did was I was in the 2nd grade then, and we did ring toss, determining short and long vowel sounds, and bobsled, measuring race cars down the track and measured the distance. And my favorite part of the Olympic night was the Chinese snacks.
All right, we have Alexis to talk about our 3rd grade.
Hi, I'm Alexis. We did multiplication skiing, match 2 skis, and make a skier. Bobsled shades of meaning. My favorite thing about the Olympic night was when we could help everybody out if they couldn't do it.
All right, 4th grade, we have Riley Hildebrandt.
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm going to be talking about what we did in the 4th grade din, what they did in the 4th grade din during Olympic night. The first thing they did was ski jumping. They also did long jumping on what angles could get the most distance. And they did a gallery walk predicting what was happening in the photo. My favorite part about Olympic night was probably making the paper torch out of paper, obviously.
All right, and 5th grade, we have Grace Money.
For Olympic night in 5th grade, we were able to make a journal and take it home with prompts to write on. And then we also did a souvenir shop, and we had a few different friends, and we had to figure out what we could buy within $100 for everyone. My favorite part was probably the snack station.
We had several stations they talked about. We had a snack station where you can see in our cafeteria, in our art room. Who was in our art room? So can you tell us what we did in the art room?
We did an Olympic torch, and it's basically when you're on
Okay.
the Olympic
We had some skating. They put like hair shower covers, like you, on their feet, and kind of did some skating around the gym, and then we did some yoga stuff in our music room. So you can see all of the different events that were going on there, as well as the academic piece that were happening in the grade levels. A big thanks to all of our students here and the student council for helping and be a huge part of supporting each one of the grade levels to be able to help our families and students. You guys were wonderful there, so thank you for that. Very much appreciated. And as you can see, there's our podium with some of our students there, and our Olympic rings. Those were the areas in each grade level that they had to kind of get signed off before they were able to kind of go and do all of the fun stuff. So it was a great evening. Could not have been done without Ms. McGuire and Ms. Furlong. I mean, the amount of planning and the amount of effort that took place for this. I know it seems like it's not a lot, but the extra time is very much appreciated. So thank you very much to the two of you. Is there anything that you would like to add?
We just can't wait till April because the reading specialists are planning something else.
And thank you, Ms. Schillers. It was a great evening. We were just super pumped. The smiles that were on everybody's faces was great. So thank you for having us. Thanks again, students. You guys were awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
You guys did a great job getting up in front, speaking in front of everybody. Very good job. Yeah. Okay, that brings us to Butler Tech update.
I'd like to bring up Chris Trentman, our supervisor for Butler Tech for Northwest District, and he's got some guests with him here tonight.
I have a couple of quick updates before we get to our guest. I just wanted to let everybody know that we had over 350 Colerain and Northwest students were just recently accepted into one of our 2-year pathway programs, so it's a great job for all of our students, a great opportunity. That happened this last week. And then really the next thing is our March Madness, what we call for our CTSO events, are really starting to happen. I know last board meeting you read a lot of names of students that qualified for BPA and DECA. So that is the next 2 weeks. And then the group that I have with us is our first robotics team. And they compete in Pittsburgh in about 2.5 weeks. So they want to go ahead and show off their little project that they have for us this evening.
You know, Chris, and one thing for the kids that were just here, they could get into building these robots and stuff once they get up into high school. You know, if you go through the Butler Tech classes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we also run some summer programs as well. So
Good.
All right, hello. My name is Ray Frank. I'm the engineering instructor for Butler Tech. These are my guys and gal, Kylie. Kylie's awesome. She's our programmer. She's got a little driving demo that she can do for you. So you can go ahead and enable our robot. So a little bit about the challenge. They're going to drive around. So they have a unique drive system here that they wanted to showcase. And so this is what's known as swerve drive. So rather than your typical car, it doesn't necessarily drive straight. It does a little bit of sideways driving. You can showcase that. So not just a normal turn. Can we get a good strafe going sideways? So it does it. Each wheel can independently drive. So it can actually go any direction rather than, so we go forward, straight, sideways, up. Each wheel has its own module. There you go. So now I get that sideways driving that your car shouldn't do, right? Or it's a little bit troublesome if it's an icy road. But this is actually an intentional design feature. So each wheel has encoders and it gets feedback so that the robot can drive and go any direction. They also have some other, I'll let Kylie actually talk about controls because she's the expert. You want to highlight anything? Or I guess she should talk up here, yes? Nice, sorry, okay. I did the worst presentation.
And you know, and Ray, they build this from the ground up.
Yes, yes. So students are designing and building this from the ground up. They have 6 weeks typically to design and build this machine. So they are starting out with just a raw game concept. You have to make this ball into this goal, and then you say go. So they've manufactured and designed everything here. They have systems on here like pneumatics, electronics, mechanical manufacturing. They're implementing 3D printing. I'll let Elijah highlight some of the key 3D prints that he's implemented. Kylie's going to talk about sensors, and I'll let Landry highlight his climb design that you don't see too much of, but it's there. All right, so I'll let Kylie hand off. Kylie.
So first we basically need something to drive. So we started from the bottom, and basically everything on top was basically just laid on. And we started pre-season, we knew we were going to have the swerve drive. We knew we were going to want to go on every axis and drive on it. So we did that, and we thought, great, this is, we're driving. So then we started wiring more and it's mostly hidden kind of. There's a lot of wires underneath.
What are the key sensors that we use?
So basically there's 3 sensors on here. There's this bright light right here. Then there's a sensor here with this thing here. This is a braking sensor. So when a ball comes up, it basically will hit this and it will break it, letting us know that there's a ball there and don't turn on any of the motors. And then we have some encoder counts where there's an absolute encoder on each of the wheels where it will give us back feedback on what degree the wheel is at on each axis and all of that. And then this little white device basically just gives us how we get Wi-Fi. And then we have all of the tubing, which kind of gives us pressure. So this is basically on a motor and it can pressurize where it can switch out and yeah.
You shouldn't move it up the intake.
So basically
there's a linkage design, right? And so that is going to be actuated using cylinders. At the moment, we have not gotten to the point where we're ready to display that portion yet. We've got just driving going. But the linkage design is a very sophisticated, like college level design that has been executed here. They've done in the build log, so on the screen you can see some of the manufacturing that they've applied. So on the wall, if you want to scroll down a little bit, so they've done some CNC routing, and then this is the progress. This is a build log, so sorry, I'll stand up here so I'm not. Thank you, Kylie. So up here, you'll see on the build blog that the students have, we've been documenting their progress week by week, and so this is like an ongoing update. So we're implementing here our pneumatics in the back end, so there's the air compressor going to the air tanks. Scrolling down, we'll continue with our progress. So students have now combined the assemblies and implemented new sensors. So in the center there is our pigeon. It's known as a gyro. So that keeps our angle feedback for our swerve drive because it needs to be field centric. That helps the driver keep it to where they can go left and right, up and down, and it stays in that orientation. Elijah can talk about the CNC router here. I'll go ahead and hand off to him. These are build log a little bit.
So speaking on the CNC router for our shooter, we originally wanted to have a lot of metal plates, and originally this guy is here as well with metal that we did on the CNC router. On the right hand side you can see a plate that we were cutting out with that router that we just got probably 3 weeks ago. So we were experimenting with how to do the cuts and the angles, and there we're cutting lines down to cut out the outside contour. You can see that side if you stop it there. We'll rotate it back. You can see the tool paths that the router would take. It will cut out the outside contour with a little bit, and all of these slots were cut in, and all of these. So that's something that we've just been getting into with the CNC router. Further on the shooter, we have a lot of 3D printed parts. 3D printer lays down essentially really hot plastic and then cool to a part design. All these are made on a Mark IV, and allows us to make this really large material to achieve it. And manufacturing out of aluminum, we may have to ask some other companies to instead 3D print it, and it's really secure and allows us to design it in-house. We also have these other guides where they all follow our 3D printed, so that's our implementation of using our resources to create things ourselves.
You also have a little bit of, you also have a cylinder back there.
Yes, I don't know how
And the
well.
gentleman behind her, you make it better for them.
Yes, this is a articulated hood. So you will extend one of these cylinders, and the whole thing will tilt back. It's kind of zip tied right now, but it'll tilt back and change the angle that the shooter is going on. So that way, when this isn't engaged, it will. That would be helpful.
There's an app for that.
Yeah. Okay, so this will extend out, and then essentially when the ball is traveling, it will follow this guide, and then no longer be in contact with any portion of this guide and come out at a sharper angle. But then when it extends back in, it does significantly better with air control.
Troubleshooting is often a time engineers get very familiar with.
It will follow the guide longer and then come out sharper, and that lets us change how we're shooting on the goal. We go, oh, we're a little closer, let's extend it out, and we'll have a sharper shot to shoot into our goal. If we're further away, extending it out lets us take a longer shot and then make it all the way into essentially 8-foot wide bin that we have to get our balls into. So, yeah, and you can.
Is there anything else on the billboard? Is there anything else you know of an update? We can continue to scroll down a little bit. That would be good.
Yeah, let's go on.
Yeah.
So, this is a list we are starting for tracking our drawings. We have a model of the entire robot that we make in 3D CAD, which lens you can kind of look at.
This is an example of some of our drawings that we have. So here is an assembly drawing. So we take different parts that we've already designed for the robot and put them together so it's easier to see how it's actually assembled. Up in this one, I know it's not really easy to tell, but I can actually walk over and show it off. So here we have some of the actual pieces of the model, have little numbers that tell you, that correspond to what's called the bill of materials. That will tell us what each part that's in this assembly is. And this is really useful, obviously, for assembling the robot and making sure that everything is in the right position, and that it's carried out to the intent of the designer so that it works correctly.
So here we're tracking all of the drawings that we need to make. So you have 501, 502, 503, those are different sub-assemblies, and we're going over each different part that we need to make a drawing for so we can manufacture it, hand it down to our manufacturing team, and they make all the parts correctly. So that tells essentially the person who's making each part how far they need to make this hole or the outside profile. It gives them all the instructions so that what we've designed can actually come into reality. Let's go down. Right, hand it over to Landry to explain the climb.
There's also videos there too, showing the extended intake moving with air. So those videos, are those clickable right now? See if we can hit play.
Can we get those and get those on the website? These videos? Is that? Yeah. Go ahead.
This is when your actuators actually activating and showing that movement as intended for a different model rather than the electronics right now. But we're working on combining the electronics with the mechanical aspects. And then Elijah has another video on the right side where he's showcasing the intake and the ball that comes in, so that you can get a reference of the ball sizes, ball size. Two different colors. So one of the sensors that we have is a color sensor that differentiates if it's the correct color for our team to use or not. So then the robot will either shoot it in the correct goal or say, nope, we'll send to the side. Sorry, other guy. So it's a cool feature that Kylie's working on, the logic for that as well. As we continue down in the build log, okay, now this is more Landry's parts. So we'll also notice like you can keep talking.
All right.
So the parts are on the drawings.
I'm going to set this down here. I'm ready to show the drawings. So here we have a picture of some of our drawings. So this is set out on a table with parts near their corresponding drawings so that we can just pick it up and go to the machine shop, machine parts, and then put them in their particular bins for each sub-assembly for the robot. Makes it a lot easier just to keep things together, keep things more organized, and be able to assemble parts quickly.
What was one of the cool tricks you did?
The cool tricks with the plates?
What did you use to help us with the conflict?
Programming on the CNCs.
Or laser.
Laser. Oh yes. Yeah, I forgot. All right, so you can see all these parts. They're black, and that is because we've done something called powder coating them, where it's kind of like paint, but not really. Where it's like they ionize the actual metal, and then they have a powder that attracts to that metal and then sticks on really well. And what's convenient about that is with our laser that we have in the lab, we can actually etch that powder coating and be able to actually sketch the contour onto a plate before we actually machine it. So it allows the machinist to be able to create plates a lot easier than it would be just taken from the drawing. And then they can also just make sure that all their cuts are precise and accurate to what the model is intended to be. And so if like whatever they're trying to cut is like way off from that intended contour, then they know, hey, one of my dimensions are wrong. I need to change something like that. That's definitely come in handy in many different situations this year.
And that equipment was donated from Rabbit Laser, partner with Butler Tech. So very, very useful material. And just before COVID, we didn't get to use too much and less lab access, but a very fun piece of equipment we can really help out. We scroll down, we have a couple more updates. Shouldn't be much longer now. This is Landry's climb system prototype in action. You can talk about that.
All right.
Another good video.
I'm rolling whenever you guys are ready.
So we don't break, let me get a second wrench and we'll take it a little bit away from the...
Rolling.
Alright, Landry, you're good?
Yep, I'm pulling.
Enabling? Go ahead.
Alright, just for verbal record, this is with 50 pounds.
A lot of weight. Stop. All right. Switches max extension. Get up there.
Okay.
That works.
Ready? Just slow
Let it go.
first. Are you good? Everyone's good?
Everyone clear. Yeah,
Go.
just wood.
Just a little bit. Okay.
Ooh. Is it caught on something?
No, it's just a winch. Going again.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, a little bit more.
A. Moving.
All the way up.
That don't sound good.
That is the wood.
I hear cracking.
I hear a little cracking.
That doesn't sound like the that.
Yeah. Yeah. Our only limitation within that model was just the actual wood itself. We had small little metal plates holding up the pulleys that we used for the rope on that elevator to lift up the robot, and that gave way. But it definitely proved their concept with the gearbox and how it should work, and it proved that we can definitely lift at least 50 pounds with the gearbox. It's just that the main limitations come down to the material that the robot's made of, not the actual motor itself. And that is also an example of what we don't quite have finished on the robot yet. You can see it's missing right here, but this is where that elevator that you could see roughly there, that's where it's intended to go in the final model. And that would allow us to actually lift up the robot off the ground and get these secondary arms, which you can see on the robot that we moved before. And those will actually hook on to the bars, and from there we will pivot those arms backwards, so it actually angle the entire robot at that point, and then we'll extend these elevator arms again onto the next bar, and then we'll then lift that elevator from there, and we will have climbed another bar. So very complex sort of movements to be able to do those sort of monkey bars, but it's definitely quite a challenge, but it's also very, very cool to see in action.
And our last phase, one of Landry's latest pieces of manufacturing.
Can I interject for just a quick second? I just want to comment. It's like that's so impressive that you're able to build a robot that climbs. Because I know in previous years you haven't always done that with the robots.
Correct.
And just if I can add so that everybody's watching, that's pretty important in their competitions, because the more robots that climb for their team at the end of each round is additional points, and that can be really huge. So I'm impressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and the last part, well, this part was Landry actually was learning on Mr. Fox's machine shop down the hallway. We've been able to use some of his latest equipment where they can do manual machining, but actually write like a simple program. So Landry was actually using this to make a curve as using just one axis. So it's a really irregular thing to do with any sort of manual operation, but very time-savvy way to do it. So Landry was able to do that using his laser plates that he made earlier.
So how many kids are on the team total?
So we've got about 30 students that
Okay.
participate, and we are working to get more freshmen and sophomores involved, because we understand this is a little daunting as a freshman coming in the door or a junior coming in the door saying, I have to do what?
Sure.
It is very, but we have VEX robotics involved as well. So VEX robotics is a smaller scale robot that it'll fit more like on a tabletop, and it's smaller teams in general. So they're learning how to do basic assembly practices. So they're going to be using bearings and bushings and motors and frame and assembling that and getting familiar with what it takes to build. And the programming is very simplified, while then it scales up to our level, and they get to see how much bigger the scale of our competition really gets. So it's they just did a competition at Harrison, and it's kind of fail forward sometimes of, all right, we learned how not to make a robot,
Yeah.
and we learned how some other guys are pretty good at it. But very good experience and a nice pipeline that we're starting to develop, and Arne Burger does a phenomenal job. On the website, you can see at the top header, you'll see first and right next to it's VEX, highlighting that same relationship to that little feeder. And then I guess I don't know, we can talk about, that's like what you guys can already see, just the latest update with the robot. But yeah. Anything else we wanted to, Chris, you want to jump in?
I did want to, Ray, give them a little background on how you got involved in this and where you went to school and what you did.
That's what I was doing. Okay, yeah. So fun fact, I actually went to Coleraine. What? I'm a 2012 grad. 2011, 2012. I enrolled in this like weird engineering course thing, and there's this guy named Dave Campbell. And Dave was like, so hear me out. We're going to build a robot. I'm like, you're kind of crazy, dude. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then we like built the robot, and I said, that's like a lot. That was cool. How did we do this? My senior year, I say like, let's go all in on this, and I put in a ton of time. Very, very rewarding experience. So I got recognized with the first Dean's List finalists at the regional. I got like national recognition for my work. That boosted my resume for college. I was considered for Yale, MIT, for like this next level of the reward. I didn't earn that one, but it was amazing to even be considered for such an honor. I went to UC with a huge experience in my back pocket. So I pioneered a scholarship at UC when I was there. I worked with President Ono, who's by far one of the coolest presidents of all time. Hashtag College of America, reppin'. Awesome dude. So got involved with UC, got them involved to now sponsor $25,000 scholarships for incoming students at UC. I've got great friends that I've made and continue to build the network here about FIRST Robotics. And I went to industry right afterward just thinking I'm going to live my normal life and do engineering. And then Dave says, so hear me out. I've got this degree program here at Colerain, and I'm going to go scale it up at Butler Tech's main campus. So you want to like take it over? You've been putting in all the hours to help me out anyway. And through college, I'd never left, right? I never left the program. So a lot of pride here for 144 and the work that these guys do. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I think it's awesome that you came back and are giving back and teaching, fellow Colerain students in Northwest.
The opportunity just was a whirlwind. I had no idea that this was even an option. And then it was like, for it to go, like Dave said, hey, I'm going to go to Butler Tech's main campus. I said, but like, who's going to take over the program? I was like, that's not leaving Colerain. Like that was so big for me. And so providing that opportunity for these guys, and then the degree program on top of it, just wow. Like I cannot believe the edge that these guys will have. Outstanding.
What's the start to finish time from when you first start? I mean, I imagine there's a lot of trial and error and the teamwork you learn. Just
the number of hours I put in?
That you would put in for this.
That's a great question. Elijah, what is our hours update at the moment?
So currently our team has put in as a group 2,700-ish hours collectively.
Wow. That's awesome.
With honorable mentions being Mr. Frank putting in 300 hours, 270, 212, 220, absurd hours within 6 or 7 weeks.
Right. So just from January till now, 300 hours. I actually had a fun instance where we were at the school till like 2:30 this past week. Yeah. So late hours, but it's worth the grind.
Very impressed. That's awesome.
I just also wanted to add that there's 5 students right now that are on track to get an associate's degree through Sinclair with engineering because of all their hours and everything. So just kudos to Ray and kudos to the kids for really putting in all the time. So
Couple quick questions.
Yep.
First of all, I've seen a couple of these presentations.
Yeah.
And the technology and the complexity seems to like exponentially increase.
We do all right. Yeah.
I mean, it's been, I think 4 years ago when I saw the first one to what it is now is I mean, they're all impressive, right? Because I'm going to hit one of you guys up because my family talked me into switching from Android to iPhone. So one of you guys are going to have to teach me how to use this new phone.
So,
which leads into my next question. What are your guys' plans after this program? Like, do you have any aspirations about where you want to work and where you plan on heading to next level?
And if you come over to the podium, they can hear you watching on Waycross or on YouTube later.
So my intentions currently, I've been accepted into UC for mechanical engineering for their 5-year degree program. I don't know what I'll be doing after that, but probably heading into industry and going something with there. So that's currently my plans. Okay.
So I've been accepted into Miami Regionals, and my plan is to go there to finish my associate's degree. And then after that, I'm probably going to take the 4-year degree after that and do all that.
Well, I'm kind of a bit different than the usual because I'm planning on going into aerospace engineering, actually, which is a bit different than building robots. But I've been wanting to do that ever since I was a kid. That I've been accepted in UC for aerospace engineering already. So going to the same college as Elijah and as Mr. Frank. So yeah, I'm planning to go there for aerospace engineering 5-year degree program with co-oping, all that sort of stuff. And then after that, I'm hoping to get a job at some sort of major aerospace company, like especially for rocketry, like SpaceX, even NASA, companies like that. And yeah.
Heck of a gig.
Yeah.
And so one of the misconceptions is that I have to be a mechanical engineering major to do the program. And honestly, anybody that's design oriented, engineering oriented, like please apply. Like, it's the same sorts of stuff. You're learning so much. You're getting a lot more scholarship opportunities. Him going to aerospace doesn't bother us at all. Great. Like, you've got great design experience and background, and you put this on your resume. I built a robot on your resume does not hurt at any point in time. Like, it's awesome. So these guys definitely get amazing experience. I've had kids that I was talking to at the AP fair, and they said, "Oh, I'm going into biomedical engineering." So there's like no need for me to go in there. I said, "You understand what biomedical engineering is?" "Yes." I can help you connect the dots here. And it's a little bit of a disconnect for some kids, and I think that's the barrier I have to get like more applicants. But talking to them and getting in front of them has definitely helped to get them enrolled. So the Sinclair, so there's also an About tab on this website. I put a little bit of time on this, but if you go to About, there is these alumni spotlight. I've tried to highlight people that have left this program and what they've done beyond, because that misconception right there was you have to be an engineer. So I've got this is from everybody I know from our program as we left. So Victoria Conlon, she's an entrepreneur. She did electrical and programming for our team. Mitch Rivetta is a civil engineer. He did like mechanical for us. As you go down, Adam Bauman's a firefighter, completely pivoted. That Ray Frank guy, we just skip over him. He's not important.
Yeah.
Maya Carrington, a leader in the military. She does IT work. Kyle Rentschler does website development. Lorenzo, he's in charge of 51 million people in Korea. He's a military guy as well. Nick Morris, L'Oreal engineer. Tyler Schottegold, Boeing engineer. You go down. Andy Hutzler, military. Nolan Schwabel, mechanical engineer. And the robot driver. That was back when we placed 6th place in the world, so he gets a little swagger with his name. He's earned it. There's a group of guys that did the FESO Didactic program, and these guys all enrolled to get their associate's degrees as well at the same time as working. A great placement for the program. As we go down, there's Austin Diesel and Ben Denoma. Ben is also a UC guy. I get in their ear about UC, and I tell you what, they like to go.
Go Bearcats.
Austin Diesel's at Miami right now, going back to get his degree. These two guys, I cannot do the work I do without them. So it goes beyond just me. It is these guys, 100% with their support. Nick Pulse is also at UC. He was at GE while he was co-oping. And then there's that 2019 class, and that's like a video. It will take your guys' time, but not really for right now. That was a PBS special about the kids earning the associate's degree for the first time. That group of kids was about to graduate, and some of them are being urged to get a master's because in 2 years after graduating from this program, they're getting a bachelor's, and they're like, well, what am I going to do? I'm 21 years old, and I don't have anything to do. My friends are still in college. So they're just in this weird limbo of, I'm too successful, I'm sorry. So they're just really ahead. We've had kids that left and they went to the military, started out with a degree, and now they're being urged to be a doctor after trying to go the medical route. And it's just a really diverse path, and I just want that to be known.
There's a lot of options out there for kids to choose from.
Absolutely.
It's not just,
it's not
I'm
the
going
one
to
and
build
only.
robots or whatever.
You're not
There's-
just building a robot.
Yeah.
It is more than robots.
I've got a question for you. What's the attrition? Do the kids that start the program finish the program?
That is I think the last couple of years has kind of been more difficult from COVID. The time commitment is a lot. And so I think some kids realize this isn't their cup of tea, and they do decide this isn't really I'm not gonna stick with it. Because it's so much time, and there's 3 bells, and I get they want to be with their friends. I had one girl that I wish she stuck with it, but I'd say it's right now probably about 50% of the current senior class has stuck with it, most of which are earning their degree. And then I've retained most of the junior class at this point, but I again kind of picked up COVID a little bit to laugh.
Very good.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, he just said 3 bells. Okay, there's 24 hours in a day. I know when it comes crunch time, they're working the 3 bells, and then after school, they're eating dinner at school, and it is in the dark of night, coming close to midnight the following day, that they're going home and then returning to school often early the next morning to start over again to, get this done.
Yes. Yes. Very motivated students. Could not ask for. These seniors are awesome. I cannot wait to see them at competition. But I do give them a hard time if we're not done yet. Awesome. So time management very much something. But,
that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
Congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
And I like that you let Kylie drive.
She's the programmer. She's like, no,
I'm driving. Yeah, awesome.
All right. That's all I got for Butler Tech.
Are you sure? Don't you want to go over the newsletter?
No, they're good. Oh my God. Sorry, that went a little long.
Sure.
Great job, Jim.
Yeah, you know.
Thank you, because I just
Photobomb. Photobomb at Daryl.
Yeah.
Try to hide.
Amy, look up.
And I'll be trying to catch some of that live stream when you guys are in Pittsburgh.
Yes, we'll share that.
If you were in Wright State Nutter Center, I'd be coming up myself.
I know,
But
they canceled it this year.
is that what happened?
They could not get enough funding for that event. So Pittsburgh
wow.
is the closest one, and then we go to Huntsville, Alabama in
Okay.
April.
Really great job, buddy.
Yeah.
I've got a brother that lives in Huntsville who actually retired from NASA.
That's part of the reason why it's in Huntsville.
Yeah.
Is because that NASA.
The Redstone Arsenal's down there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So-
actually went through Coleraine through their drafting program. It was back.
Well,
He graduated in
let it know what
1973.
we're up to now. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a lot different now.
You guys got it? 90.
While we're transitioning, can I say something about the program?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, so my son, I'm Robert Riccardi. My son was in the program. He received a ton of college credits. It was one of the first years it was offered. He also received a professional designation in CAD design while he was in the program. He's now at Northern Kentucky University, and he will graduate at least a year and a half, probably 2 years ahead of schedule. Fantastic program. What I would like to add, however, is that all of the science here, all of the robotic, the building, that's not what this thing is about. He learned more about working with people, how to plan, how to execute, how to problem solve, how to communicate. He learned more about those things than the actual pure engineering. And because of the way that Mr. Frank and the other people who run the program operate, it is a huge proving ground. I would say business school candidates should be in this program to understand how to do project management. Regardless of what the product is, how do you do those other things? I just wanted to add that. Huge benefit I have not seen anywhere else in a high school program. Almost said college because it's so good, but anywhere else in a high school program. So I just wanted to add.
You know,
Thank
and
you.
another thing, we have so many people in industry just beating our doors down, wanting more kids like that to come work for them. You know, we've got a lot of companies that'll pay for them to go to college and work part-time and come out and, you know, and work for them. I mean, just tons of companies. If we could give them 150 kids a year, they would just take them all.
On our website, I've got a list of employers that I've tried to make it easier for kids to understand. These guys want you for their jobs.
Yeah.
So I've been just like, I don't want a normal summer job. I said, great, here's your list. Go apply.
These guys come out. I mean, they can come out making $70,000-$80,000 year one.
They could, absolutely.
Easily.
It's what they want to do.
Right.
You know, it comes their drive. I put the ball in their court. As employer, on that employers tab, I even send that to alum to say like, hey, you're a year or so out, go get a job if you want one, right? Like, there's no need for you to be a cashier. You're way more skilled than the average person. You're not non-skilled labor. You know
Right.
way too much.
Yeah.
And then I have Also, the team structure is up there as well. So what Mr. Riccardi was referring to, the team structure of how everything's broken down, that is also available. So tons of resources on that website.
Sure.
It's known as rock144.com. I have reveal videos, build blogs, sponsorship packets, anything you need to get connected with the team and the program. I'd like to leave it there. And our calendar for when we're building stuff and if we're traveling and what we're up to, that's also in the bottom. So yeah, questions, it's all hopefully there, even parent resources. So.
Great.
Thank
you.
Thank you
Sir.
very well.
Thanks, Ray.
All right. That brings us to reports from any employee organizations. Do you already have any?
Nothing tonight.
Are you speaking? I almost called you Colleen. I almost called you Colleen.
All of that. Wow, that was amazing. Christine Colliver here from Taylor PTA, and I just wanted to come tonight and tell you about some great achievements that are going on there. I just wanted to share. So tonight we wanted to recognize Mrs. Diane Gears. Diane has been in the district for 27 years. She has a bachelor's in elementary education, a master's in educational psychology, and just earned her intervention specialist license from Miami. So we want to congratulate her on that, and she is eager to support wherever the need is. We'd also like to recognize Troy Brown. Mrs. Likens and Mrs. Berkeley both want to recognize him. He is a wonderful and creative artist, excellent soccer player, and a back flipper extraordinaire. He proudly participates in all lessons. He has made huge academic growth and exceeded his goals on both the math and reading map assessment. Troy is a good friend to all students in our classroom and students from other homerooms as well, and we are proud of Troy Brown. We'd also like to recognize, Mrs. Reenan would like to recognize Evelyn Dring for coming to school every day with a smile on her face, ready to learn new things in second grade. And then we have Miss Hammersmith, who would like to recognize Gabby Hauser for the progress on MAP in both math and reading. She went up 16 points in math and 22 points in reading, and so we just wanted to recognize them. They could be our next aerospace engineers working for SpaceX. And then just one more thing. Taylor PTA wanted to recognize Taylor Elementary Educator of the Year. And this year we wanted to recognize Mrs. Christy McGuire. This is a surprise to her. She didn't know. She didn't know. So Mrs. McGuire has spent most of her career serving the students and families at Northwest Local Schools. Currently, Mrs. McGuire is one of the math specialists at Taylor Elementary. She's a member of the Taylor Building Leadership Team, and in this role, she is a leader in the planning and implementation of math instruction. She plans with teachers, models best practices in math instruction, provides intervention and support, and analyzes data in order to assess the effectiveness of our instruction. This year, Mrs. McGuire led the Taylor Title I team in planning our first parent involvement night in almost 2 years. And that was what you just saw, our Olympic night, and it was a success. The last couple of years, Mrs. McGuire has also taken a step back into the classroom. In this role, she is dedicated to providing every student what is needed to be successful. Mrs. McGuire is always willing to do whatever it takes to help the students and staff at Taylor Elementary. She is creative, determined, and passionate about making a difference for her students. She exemplifies our motto, be great. So congratulations to Mrs. McGuire. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, that brings us to community comments. We don't have any this evening, so we'll move on. And that brings us to the superintendent consent items. It's your turn, Daryl.
All right. I'm with Christine. I can't follow that. Kids and then teacher of the year. So consent items, we have our normal items for consent. 1, personnel. We have a retirement. We have 1 resignation. We have 4 initial appointments. And we have a change in status. The change in status is transitioning Erin Davis as interim principal of Corning High School to principal of Corning High School. And then we have
Can
our
Erin stand up so everybody knows who she is?
He's gonna do it.
Yeah, after you
Oh,
guys,
you are?
after you guys make it official.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we haven't voted yet.
And then we have our business items, we have vendor contracts that are special ed and title services, as well as a contract for prom services. And then donations, Corning High School boosters to the middle school for an ice machine, White Oak Nutrition to Montford Heights for food during PD Day, and Blackbaud Fund with monetary donation to Pleasant Run Middle School. So with that, Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the adoption of the consent items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Aaron, are your fingers crossed?
I'm feeling nervous here. No.
And I do want to take a moment and recognize Erin Davis. We went through a search process last summer to try to find the next principal of Corning High School. And when the search committee didn't come up with a clear and viable candidate that we felt was the best candidate for Corning High School, I approached Erin with my team and said, we didn't find a candidate in our search, but we have a candidate right in front of us that we believe in immensely. And Erin agreed to take it as an interim and see how it worked out. And from our perspective, it's been amazing. Her team is here, so they agree. It's been amazing. Erin did a presentation about her vision for Corning High School to a group of parents and building leaders, and then met with us to share that vision. And we support her vision and support her, and we couldn't be happier that Erin is installed as the principal of Corning High School.
Aaron, do you want to share some of your vision with us?
Yeah, introduce your team to
Yeah, and introduce your team and all that good stuff.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate everyone's support, and I appreciate the people that I work with every day. They definitely support me every single day, and the teachers and the students and the parents. So it's a team effort. So thank you, though.
There's very rarely a week goes by that I don't get an email about you, about how successful you are and how you put the team together. And that is refreshing to get those emails. So thank you for all you do, especially that I have a daughter with you. So thank
And
you.
introduce your guys there.
So that's Sean Ryan. He has our 10th grade. This is Erin Kenny Levine. She has our 12th graders. She took my seniors. Mike Stevens has our freshmen. This is Matt Swinoff, our athletic director, and Mr. Matt Hawes. He has our 11th grade.
Great.
So,
Thank you, guys.
Great coworkers and great friends. So
Yes.
I appreciate their support tonight.
Awesome. Congratulations. Okay, that brings us to fiscal consent items.
Good evening. So first we have the minutes from the February 7th regular meeting that we had, and then we have our financial report for the month of January. Our all funds balance is $53.6 million, and our general fund unreserved balance is $22.5 million. Our revenues are at $51.8 million, or about 52% for the year, and our expenditures are $51.5 million, or 53% for the year. Our weighted average return on our investments is down just a little at 0.6%. And our list of monthly bills were our routine monthly bills, as well as we had some repairs to the Struble pedestrian bridge. We had we installed some intercom systems, bus repairs. We had a stage curtain replacement at Northwest High School, our fiscal 21 financial audit payment, and several auxiliary and grant fund payments. And then we also have one then and now certificate for about $4,700 for some non-food purchases in our food service department. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the adoption of the fiscal consent items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Great. Thank you, Amy. That passes 5-0.
And next I have the adoption of a revised 401A plan document. So just like 401Ks, school districts have 403Bs, 457s, and with severance plans, 401As. And as an employer, we're required to have a plan document that is in compliance with IRS regulations and guidelines so that our employees have opportunities to make investments. The board has approved our 403Bs, our 457s, and our 401A. The IRS has come out with 2 revisions to a 401A plan, and so we just need to adopt those revisions and enter them into our plan. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to revise our 401A plan document by incorporating the required Cycle 3 restatements as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Are there any questions or discussions? Passes 5-0 as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have 2 items on here for information, both from curriculum and instruction. And annually, we do new adoptions for different textbooks and instructional resources based on a multi-year plan to make sure that we continuously update our resources. So we have 2 on here for information. They'll be on for action at the next meeting. So we have social studies curriculum for middle school, that is 6 through 8. And then at the high school level, we have psychology, sociology, and African American history. And every year when we run these adoptions, we as a district have a process we use that allows for engagement through the entire process. So I'm going to let Brenda talk about the process that we go through, just so everybody understands that these have been looked at, they've been piloted, and they've been given feedback along the way.
All right, my microphone doesn't work, but I can talk loudly. Good evening. Just to tell you a little bit about the process. So we have a standard 6-year review cycle for curriculum resources. So every 6 years we look to take a look at our core curriculums that the board has already adopted, as well as any supplemental resources that we have in place, and determine if they are still well aligned to the state standards, identify any gaps that might exist between our resource and the standards, and then we, with teachers working in a committee, we work together to determine if we need to evaluate and look for new resources. So we have several different adoptions and review processes going on right now. The 2 social studies are coming to a conclusion where they've come up with a recommendation. Lori Reilly, who's here tonight, as well as Andy Phelps, they've been leading these processes, as well as our high school curriculum supervisor. Right now we're piloting a couple different math programs. So typically when we look at resources, we have rubrics that we look at them against that align to our strategic plan and those objectives. So we're looking for things that, you know, are literacy rich, even if they're not a language arts program. We're looking for things that honor and are inclusive and equitable. We're looking for things that cover our standards and present opportunities for supports for students at all ability levels, as well as things that include that rigor that we're striving for in our classrooms. And so the process unfolds over a long period of time where we start with a group of teachers. Our principals nominate teachers from each school. Sometimes we're able to include all teachers, like Andy was in the social studies middle school review this time. Other times because we have to pull teachers sometimes out of classrooms, we have to take a couple teachers from each school. But their voice is loud. They all give us feedback, both verbally as well as in written form. If there's a pilot, we ask them to evaluate those products side by side, like Lori is doing now with the elementary teachers and 2 math programs. And then we have a parent review process as well, which is required as part of our board policy. And so our parents have an opportunity to look at the resources, fill out. This year they used a virtual parent night for these 2 review processes, give us feedback through a Google form. And then finally we have to make a final decision about which product to go with. And so once we do that, we bring it to you for information. If you have any questions, you can always ask us, and then we'll certainly bring it back to you and get your approval. Once that's done, we start the process of looking at requisitions, purchase orders, professional development for our teachers. So it is kind of, as Daryl said, an ongoing process, but it's something that we want to make sure we get right, because typically when we adopt a resource, it's around and with us for at least 6 years, if not longer. So
So this is a very thorough process.
Mhm.
So like, once it's implemented, what kind of feedback are you getting from, because at that point, up to that point, it's, you're expecting it to be this, right? And then once it's implemented, what feedback are you getting back from that committee of teachers that we're moving where we want to, the needle's going where it should be? Like, what does that process look like?
So we constantly need to be looking at data to make sure implementation is going well. One of the things that we really are working to tighten up is making sure we're implementing programs with fidelity. So one of the things you're aware of that we are doing is we've hired math coaches as consultants from Hamilton County ESC. And they've been in our district to help us with our middle school math implementation. And so they've got rubrics, they're looking at what's happening in classrooms, working with teachers as well as administration to make sure that that's going well. And then on the back end, we're looking at data with our principals to make sure that we're getting the results that we want to get. So
And our
I feel
administrator-
good about the process. I think it's thorough. We'd love to have more parents involved. And so we thought the virtual might give us some of that, because typically we'll put things out in front of here before a board meeting, or we'll go to the schools and do some type of parent night. And we typically don't get a great turnout for those, and so we'd love to have more voices involved in the process. Sorry,
And
Daryl.
I was just going to say, and when we do the implementation, our principals and building administrators are included in what that implementation looks like, so they can help support that and support the teachers in that implementation at the building level. So we try to keep everybody in the loop about where we are and what our expectations are.
Excellent.
We typically include them even in any of the professional developments so that they know what they're looking for in the classroom
Sure.
and can help with hiccups that might occur with implementation.
Excellent.
So that will be back on the next agenda for approval. So if you have any questions between now and then, just let me or Brenda know.
Great. Thank you for the detailed description.
These guys have been working their tails off.
Thank you, guys.
This is Andy Phelps here, he's our middle school curriculum supervisor. And Lori Reilly's in the back there, she is our assistant director of curriculum.
Hey, bro. Thank you, guys. High school?
Right. We just did both of them together.
Okay. All right.
So I just have a couple of quick things for the update tonight. Just as an FYI, we have with transportation tonight on the consent items, there was a bus driver in training that was hired. That takes about 6 weeks to get them through and certified. A couple of casual subs that can fill in on random days. And because of our being able to get some more people in the door, we have scaled back from 6 canceled routes a day to 4. And we're hoping that as we get some more people in the door, that will go from 4 down to 2 and hopefully to 0 in the near future. One other thing that will impact transportation is on Friday the 25th, the CDC announced some new guidance around their recommendations for masking. And one of the things that was in that guidance was taking away the requirement for masks on school transportation. So beginning tomorrow, masks, based on our policy, will not only be optional in buildings, but now it'll be optional on transportation as well. So our buses will not have masks. We'll have communication going out district-wide tomorrow morning to inform everyone of the changes, but just an FYI, that's changed.
I was looking at the COVID numbers this week. They're really low.
Yes.
Really going down.
Yeah, our number of positive cases, staff and students, are very low, and minimal number of quarantines. And the community spread that we monitored with the 7-day average of new positive cases in our zip codes, as well as the county, is also significantly decreased.
Did they change the county? Is it still red?
It'll be probably updated soon because they are shifting from their just looking at COVID numbers to looking at hospitalizations and shifting the focus on reporting around severe illness versus just spread.
Right. Any questions for Daryl?
That's optional for the bus drivers as well, then?
Yes,
across the
beginning
board.
tomorrow.
Any other questions for Daryl? Okay. Thank you, Daryl. That brings us to board member comments. Mr. Heather?
Just wanted to comment, seeing the robots tonight compared to when I was at Colerain High School, we had projects with the radio station that had vacuum tubes. And if that doesn't age you, and then you'd go into Becker Drug Store at Monfort Shopping Center and take the tubes, and they had this machine, and you would put it in there and it would test the thing. And I'm like, gosh, I guess I am getting a lot older. Man, because that is so incredible to see something like that made.
Do you want us to take a vote on that?
Is
Is that a motion?
No. But that was very impressive. I enjoyed that. So.
Jim?
Yeah, I just want to second that. I mean, Ray, he came out of the program and was a student and was just so involved in that. And he had to apply for the job. He just didn't get a call and say, hey, we want you to teach class. I mean, he had to apply. Sure. and that kind of stuff. So, but he has just done a fantastic job and just kept these kids going. And the thing about it is, you got five students, ready to get their associate's degree. How much money does that save the parents, going to college? They're going into college is going to be juniors, so and that's why I said that with the kids here, the elementary kids, obviously, they probably didn't understand it, but just the parents could see that there's plenty of options. Take a look at the Butler Tech programs and see where they go. And not everybody gets, goes into it, and, they go different pathways, like he was saying, some are in the armed services, firefighter, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of options out there that these kids can go through. So, and then I wanted to thank the kids, William, Ariana, Isaac, Alexis, Riley, and Grace. They did a great job in the presentation that Mr. Schurz brought. So good job for those guys.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Ms. Dalby?
Yes. I wanted to congratulate Erin and thank her team for being here. As a parent of a high school student, I feel like our kids are in amazing hands there. So also congratulate Christy McGuire, and then thank the kids for coming and just seeing Ray, his passion that he has. I know that goes to the kids, and I think it's awesome to have someone for them to look up to that's that passionate about what they're doing. So, and just thank him and his team. That's great.
Yeah, as Nicole and Jim said, Mr. Frank coming on to help out with our robotics program with Rock 144. He had some pretty big shoes to fill, replacing Mr. Campbell, who left to go to Butler Tech and do the same thing.
Matt, and not to cut you off, but when Butler Tech took Mr. Campbell and took him up there, I was not happy, and I told the superintendent, and Mr. Campbell says, look, this guy is going to do great, and he's come in and just killed it with these kids. He's done a fabulous job.
Yeah, because my son was in the class of 2018 with the robotics program. I worked with Mr. Riccardi's son, class of 2019. And was 19 when Mr. Frank came on? No. It was the year after that. The year after that, yeah. So it was around,
Yeah,
it was around that time where, my son was one of the last ones to be with Mr. Campbell. And then, Mr. Riccardi's son was last year with Mr. Campbell, and that transition of what was the program going to do. And it continued on seamlessly with Mr. Frick taking over at the helm. And, as I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty big deal for the robots to climb. And it's not all just the technical aspects. There's so many, as Mr. Riccardi stated, the life skills that they develop with the teamwork, both the teamwork internally with the robotics team, with Rock 144 here. The competitions, they work each round with two other teams, 3-on-3 in their tournaments, and they have to work together well. And you see a little demonstration, moving here or there, and it's so much different in real time, in person, and fast paced, and pretty incredible to watch. He talks about the Vex robotics and the smaller scale, and their small arenas, and 3 or 4 they fit on a basketball court. But then the robotics team, their arena is larger than this room, and it's really a sight to see and an impressive program. And I'd like to thank the Taylor Elementary students, William, Ariana, Isaac, Alexis, Riley, and Grace. They did a fantastic job speaking. It's always impressive to our young students to come and speak at the podium. No, it's not easy. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. First, I want to say congratulations, Erin, and I want to thank your team around you, because I'm sure you didn't have to twist their arms to be here tonight. I can only imagine that you have to have everybody around you like that. There's not a day goes by that something doesn't happen in the building. It's just when you have that many kids in a building, things are just going to happen. And everything that I've ever seen you do so far, you've handled amazingly. So as a parent, thank you. And thank you guys for supporting her and making her as successful as she is. I want to thank Casey Schurz and Ms. Childress for coming and bringing their wonderful students with them. Thank you, Christine, AKA Colleen, for coming and bragging about your school. Thanks for accepting the challenge. Tonight was just success. Like, this meeting was riddled with success. And that's what we need to focus on. In a season of COVID and just people just unstable about anything and everything, and just critical, and the state of our world that's in, it is really awesome to see these kids just excelling at exponential speed. I mean, it's just amazing. Thank the Butler Tech group for coming. I live close to the high school. I cut through just to make sure things are okay, as I'm going out, and the light is in the room on all the time where the guys build that apparatus. I've taken dinner and coffee, not cocktails, coffee and Chick-fil-A is what I was going to say, actually. At like 11:30 at evening, and they're there. I mean, it is amazing the number of hours that they put in. It's really impressive. I mean, it honestly is really impressive. And it takes the rest of the school to support that program. So, Aaron, again, thank you for your team for having everything that needs to happen for that to happen. And then just lastly, I just want to say, remember our world in your prayers as things become very, very, very unsettled, and it seems as though it's going to become even more unsettled. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. That passes 5-0. Thank you so much.